So we all feeling into this collective energy today? Yeah, it's really powerful in the room, so thank you so much everyone for coming, and it's very obvious that you've all come with the impetus to create. Once you start to move out of this law of exchange, it's not about the giving and the receiving anymore. It's only about the creation. So I thank you all for coming and co-creating. So you are here. And where is here? Where is here? Are you here? Are you everywhere? Are you everything? Are you nothing? How much humans like to define themselves? How much humans like to have a sense of place? Now let's talk about sense of place for a moment, because sense of place is going to be a very interesting theme for you in 2018. In fact, most of you in this room are considering whether or not you are in the right place. Yes? Am I in the right home? Am I in the right area? Am I in the right relationship? Am I in the right country? Am I on the right planet? Dimension, universe, and so on. So the reason that this is beginning to arise very strongly within you is not because it's necessarily about movement, but because there is a question and a knowing that's coming that ye cannot be defined nor contained by place. So for some of you, in 2018, this is going to be a lot about moving to different areas. It's going to be about visiting different parts of the planet. It's going to be about not committing to routine, not wanting to assign yourself a structure of a timetable, because you don't know if you want to be there on that particular day. So it's very important that you know this, because for some of you that's becoming quite disruptive emotionally. There's some of you that are feeling a lot of angst about not knowing your place. And so we begin this conversation with an understanding of what place has meant in the human psyche. Agreeable? What place has meant in terms of a human accumulated experience. Because if you're going to have accumulated experience, and it's very concrete as we have discussed in terms of bricks and mortar, there must always be a point of reference. Agree? It's the same as when you have a library of knowledge, you have a catalogue system, so that there's always a point of reference so that you can access anything at any time. And so for humans, a sense of place has always been a certain time. Think of it as a security key. A security key that allows you to access things. It allows you to access the information that you need to make yourself safe at any time. It allows you to access the information that you need so that you have a solid identity. It allows you to access the information that you need so that people know who you are and therefore can reference you in a certain way. Do you understand? So place within the human psyche has been a very important aspect of your identity. Even in terms of your own cultural history, oh, this is such and such of such and such. Yes? This is Arthur of Avalon, for example. Yes? This is Rebecca Dawson of Perth. Yes? So the place has become pivotal. Pivotal for you to be attached to a certain reference. What you're starting to feel is this non-attachment to place. It's very difficult for you to actually feel settled at all at this time. Even if you have your home and you have your family and you have your environment, you have your routine, there's something within you that is stirring because there is so much more in you that wants to be known that can only be known once the sense of place has been removed. So the sense of place, as we have discussed, is a reference point for a cataloguing system. So once that sense of place is removed, it enables you to access more of what you know. It enables you to respond to a situation more easily. It enables you to get out of referencing your accumulated human experience as your knowledge base And it enables you to start to access cosmic mind and source as your knowledge base. So in terms of place, please be aware that you will not be feeling like you want to necessarily be anywhere. And this is a theme for 2018. And we say this, and we ask you to please listen carefully. Because the sense of place is leaving the human psyche and identity in 2018, there are many that are feeling like they don't belong on the planet. And there are many that are feeling like they have no place here. That is not because they do not need to be here. And it is not because there is nothing for them to create here. It is because they are feeling the detachment within the human psyche of sense of place. And if you know that sense of place is a strong marker for identity, you can begin to understand that if you are feeling like you don't belong here, it's because your identity is lifting. It's because you are no longer accessing accumulated human experience as your knowledge base. So we say these things to you in earnest, so that when those moments arrive for you in 2018, where you feel like you don't belong anywhere, you celebrate. Because it means you are arriving in your sense of freedom. The human psyche resists. And it says, if I have no reference point for place, I have no value. I am lost. No one can identify me. No one can see me. And yet we say unto you, when you lose your sense of place, that's when you start to become visible. Because remember, that's when the bricks and mortar start to thin. And that's when people really start to see you. Can you understand it? For all of you in this room. Remember, this is not about belonging to the planet. It's about allowing the veil of this dimensional experience to thin so that you can be everywhere. That's your freedom. Can you understand it? Those of you who have children, watch in 2018 as they have difficulty defining themselves. I don't know why I'm with these friends. I don't know why I'm doing this hobby. I don't know why I'm doing my homework. I don't know why. That is the moment with children to be saying unto them, more of you is coming out. More of who you are, what you know. All is not lost. All is being revealed. Do you understand it? So the question here comes, well, if more is coming out and there is less sense of place and less identity, how do we exist in this? Because it is always going to be the human way to re-reference. And we say unto you, re-reference not in the solidity of what you think you know, but re-reference in the exploratory nature of what can be discovered. Because that's where your safety will be. Because you're now becoming wired to freedom, rather than to set systems of knowledge for your safety, it is the expansive energy of what can be that will be the only thing that sustains you. If you know what's going to happen, there's a lackluster experience for you in store for 2018. Humans used to love to know what would happen. If I know what's going to happen, I can relax. I'm all right. I know what's going on. I'm safe. That is going to be contributing to your lack of sense of place. Because what will happen for you is that if there is surety in what will happen, you will find that your consciousness won't really want to engage with that anymore. Because as soon as your consciousness knows what the perceived outcome is, it's not interested in playing. Oh yes, I can see what's going to happen here. Not interested. Time to change focus. Yes? Because remember, consciousness, source energy is creation. And if it already knows what's going to happen, your consciousness is not interested in doing that anymore. Remember, watch this in your children as well. So therefore, the only thing that's really going to sustain you in terms of your vitality, in terms of your feeling as if you really are existing and enjoying your life, remember the joy is about not knowing what's going to happen. What could happen here? Let's focus in this direction. What will unfold? What can occur? Be open-ended. Because when you're open-ended, remember, the traditional human journey is like this. It's linear. You start here and you finish here. There's really only one outcome. That's what your karmic system arranged for you. The closed loop of repetitive experience. But when you start to be open-ended and not be invested in wanting to know what will happen, what happens is that your experience starts to look like this. Yes? And it's not that there are multiple pathways available for you. It's that you start expressing through multiple pathways simultaneously. Yes? So which one looks more interesting to you? Which one looks like it's going to be spreading more light? Which one looks like it's got a lot more impetus behind it? This is hard work. Agree? This is a burst of consciousness. So when we say unto you that it's going to be very difficult for you to really sustain yourselves in needing to know what's going to happen, what you find is that energetically you're already here. So if you're trying to navigate your life along here, this becomes very dissatisfied. The consciousness within you feels like it's being squeezed. And even though the mind brain will say unto you, well, I feel safe with predictability, your energy will feel very restricted. And I now feel trapped by what I know is going to happen. I now feel trapped by having committed to that. Seemed like a good idea at the time. I know what's going to happen next Tuesday. I'm going to meet up with my girlfriends and we're going to go and have some dinner. And that felt fantastic in the moment. And now I feel like I'm trapped because I know what's going to happen. And I'm not excited by that anymore. Yes? There's another permutation of that experience where you say, well, yes, let me check in on the day. Does it still feel like I want to engage with that? Does my consciousness want to create something there? Excellent. We've got no idea what's going to happen tonight. Let's engage with that energy. And then what happens is you're creating an experience with your friends rather than being committed to an experience with your friends. Completely different energy. Can you see it? So let's take this into something very simple for you. You wake up in the morning and you have breakfast. Most of you have breakfast like this. I know what I'm going to eat. I know what time I'm going to eat. I know how I'm going to eat. I sit in the same place every day. I eat the same food every day. It's time to get moving. Agree? Not very exciting. And yet eating your breakfast is a wonderful opportunity to create an experience, is it not? Yes, there is breakfast, but let me just check in for a moment. Do we want to create an experience this morning? All right then. It can go any way. And in that moment, you actually start engaging your creative selves. You actually start acting from source energy, consciously. And you start directing it. You start directing it because breakfast becomes a creation for you. Ooh, I'm going to eat outside. And I'm not going to eat this, I'm going to have that. And I'm going to eat with my left hand instead of my right hand. And watch what happens to your body. Because you become so engaged in that moment, all of your cells start vibrating at a faster rate. Your DNA hits a particular pitch where it starts reverberating, and all of a sudden you've become exceptionally visible within the ether. You've started to create a new reality. Do you understand? Yes. So, 2018, visibility through creation. Let's go back a little bit, shall we? Or into an alternate reality. Because you're here with us and we are enjoying it very much. But let us delve into your alternate reality of where you were last week. Or this morning. Or a couple of hours ago. So, let us look at human experience. Let us look at the construct of the human daily routine. The human daily routine is all about cycle. Yes? Just as the third dimensional reality is cycle. We have a routine, this is what we do every day. We wake up and we do it again the next day. There might be a few minor changes, but we know what's happening. Agree? Some would call that the functionality of life. We would choose to call it the insanity of human life. So, when you are in a cycle of experience or a cycle of life, what happens is that nothing really changes very much. There might be variations on the theme. On a Saturday, you might do something different to a Tuesday. But it's pretty much the same rhythm, agree? So what happens in this is that this keeps you in this. It keeps you in this because it's like going into a room. Remember, you come in this door here. Here's your doorway. And you enter, and there's a doorway here. So your life in any moment is like this room. So you've come in through your past, and this is where we're going. And you just enter that room and you just walk straight through. And it's already predetermined and it's already set. Because that's what happens when you work in this way. And nothing changes. So we have spent many an hour with humans who feel as if they are stuck. Humans who are in stagnation and say, well, I'm here and I don't know how to get out. I'm trying everything that I can and nothing is changing. And the reason it's not changing is because there's only one door in front of them. And they go through that door and then they come into another room like that, and then that door and they come to another room like that. And they're saying, well, I'm doing what I know works. I've received all of this external information and all of this advice, and still nothing new is happening. First of all, because they're looking for accumulated human experience information to help them move out of a loop, which we have just learned fortifies your experience. It doesn't change it for you, it fortifies it. And the second thing is that they're not actually doing anything spontaneous. Now, as we have discussed here with the breakfast example, if you start to do things spontaneously, it's like a magical effect. Spontaneous action is consciousness in creation mode. So when you are spontaneous and you're in this room, so you've come in through the door, there's a door there. What's going to get you out of the room? Spontaneous action. Because energetically and vibrationally, what spontaneous action does is it creates more doors. And all of a sudden, there's a different direction. All of a sudden, energetically, there's all of these. And then when you go through this one and you do something spontaneous, there's more doors. And your life starts to become an exponential expression. It's very, very, very simple. But humans don't know about it. Is it a surprise to you that your entire social, economic structures on the planet, educational structures on the planet, political structures on the planet, everything is sequenced? True? It's all sequenced. It's all predictable. It's all designed to keep you in predictability and sequence. So you have come to learn that if you can predict the outcome, you're safe. Your minds believe if you know what's going to happen, you can secure your survival. We say unto you, no. This is the reason that humanity in its current state is not surviving. You have been misinformed. Listen to our words carefully on this day. Your systems of predictability and consistency are stopping you from being creators, because they're saying unto you, don't do anything spontaneous. Stick to the program. As soon as you do one small spontaneous action, you are in creatorship and you are moving in a new direction. It's not reckless. It's not dangerous. It's giving you more. So we encourage you this year of visibility is the year of spontaneity, the year of action. Spontaneous action is the key to more. Because as soon as you do the smallest action spontaneously, it completely opens up new pathways. Very small things. Listen carefully. When you get out of bed in the morning, which shoe do you put on first? Your left or your right? What happens if you do the opposite? Do you know what happens in that moment? You've entered a new door. Do you know what the significance of that new door is? You've just entered a new reality. Humans are designed to create realities. They're not designed to exist contained within them. But your systems on the planet are here to keep you contained within one particular reality. And you will not find your sense of place there this year. Because 2018 is the year of spontaneous action. It's the year when you begin to create new realities for this planet. The smallest thing. Instead of driving this way to your workplace, drive that way. The smallest things. Because it is that energy that takes you out of the lap. It doesn't have to be life-changing decisions. It is the smallest thing, multiple times during your day, that shifts you into a new reality, shifts you into a new timeline, opens up new possibilities that weren't there before. If nothing is changing for you, spontaneous action will allow you to start to create your reality. It's so, so simple, and it's so important. Because humanity and the collective consciousness can no longer continue to exist in structures of predictability. Everything that is happening on the planet at this time that is about chaos and is about deconstruction is all designed to help humans to understand that they can't predict anymore. They cannot predict anymore. Prediction will not give you your freedom. You are not here to feel safe in what will happen. You're here to create what will happen. Yes? So important. The power is within you. You are the knowing. And it is time to create the reality for that knowing. Simple, simple, small things take you out of the loop. The loop of the timeline that this planet has been existing in for 300,000 years. You are multidimensional, therefore, every time you make a spontaneous decision, you're moving into a different reality. You're beginning to live multidimensionality. That is the key this year for you. So we challenge you in 2018 to have small moments of spontaneity throughout your day and watch as your life completely changes its view. Watch as your reality changes. Watch as you actually start to feel alive. Watch as things start to work with you rather than against you. Because you have been trying to play in a system that cannot accommodate you. And so you have sacrificed and sacrificed and sacrificed so that it will work for you. Yes? Very, very simple. Very, very powerful. Do you encourage spontaneity in your children? Do you encourage spontaneity in your home? Do you encourage spontaneity in your relationships? Do you encourage spontaneity in your workplaces? Or does everything have to be run through a system of approval first before anything can be created? Yes? Very well. We say unto you in this moment that there are questions.
Does the disentanglement, or I don't know what you worded it, of the sense of place, is that, or can that, or is that sort of generally being mirrored in a disentanglement from the family, i.e. the parents?
We will say unto you that they are concurrent experiences for many. And they are concurrent because your sense of accumulated history, because remember, family is reference for accumulated history, accumulated historical identity, is also thinning. It's also becoming less concrete. So it's not that you are distancing yourself, it's that it's becoming less relevant to your experience. So for those who are feeling as if they are withdrawing from family or feeling less engaged with family, be clear, you do not need to pull yourself away. The relevance of that is dissipating for you. Because remember, the bricks and mortar do not walk off. You do not move away from them. They thin and they become filled with light and become holographic. So your family to you is becoming holographic. They still exist, but they don't impact upon you. You can still be there with them, but there's no influence. Can you understand it?
Yeah, and it gives the freedom to then go all over the globe as well.
Correct. Ye cannot be contained when the bricks and mortar become holographic. Yes? Who here has been feeling contained? Yes. Remember, accumulated human experience is no longer safety for you. Every time there is spontaneous action, there is a new version of you. Every time there is spontaneous action, the walls of accumulated human experience begin to thin. Yes? So important, so powerful, so simple. Is there a question?
My question's about spontaneity. And children's schooling. So I'm not feeling comfortable with the current schooling that my son's attending, and I feel I want to take him out, but it's quite a large spontaneous thing to do, but I don't know.
It is not the action of taking the child out that is spontaneous. It is the introduction of spontaneity into his life. Yes? Because once you introduce it in the small ways, let's do this today instead of that. With very small things that have become habitual for you as a family. Remember, you develop habits to survive because you believe that the predictability is important for your survival. So if you start to introduce these small spontaneous movements, you will find that there is a natural progression towards a new reality for you. It is often the weight of decision that stops humans from creating. Is it not? The weight of decision. Shall I take my child out of school? That is a weighty decision. And 90%, 99% will either wait, delay, or do nothing because of the weight of that decision. What will happen if I do that? Can I go back? But through consistent, commonplace, spontaneous action throughout the day, a whole new reality for you is created. Shall I leave my husband? What will happen for my children? I am unhappy. Do you understand? Huge decision. Weighted with responsibility. Do I really want my whole world to change? I do, because I feel so limited by the predictability of my life. However, when you begin to the small, spontaneous decisions, new doors open, new reality for your family. Can you understand it? So it's not a question about the big decisions. It's a question about the spontaneous moments that suddenly give you new options. Because the weighted, heavy decisions of responsibility, there's usually only two options. Stay the same, or take a huge risk and sacrifice something. Does that make you want to change? No. And you can see that that is a very dualistic paradigm of sacrifice that all of your systems have created on the planet. If you are not going to stick to this, there is going to be a sacrifice. If you want to get out of predictability, you have to be willing to take a huge risk. And so what will humans do? They won't change because they don't want to take the risk. And they don't want the responsibility of possibly making a mistake. Can you see how you've all been conditioned? You all want change. There is not one single person in this room that does not want change. And if it's not change for yourself personally, it's change for the planet, or change for someone you know, or change for a situation, yes? And yet the weight of it seems enormous. How can I possibly change this? How am I going to solve this problem? If I take a risk, it could end terribly, and yet I'm so unhappy. How do I stay where I am? The spontaneous action will open up 50 new permutations of choice. Because you all believe you've had choice. Listen carefully, blessed ones. And we will not be any less direct than this. You believe that you have had free will. You believe that you have had free will. And we say unto you that the original human design was all about free will. But you do not have free will until you start to be spontaneous. Everything else is an illusion. You do not have free will because every decision that you make is weighted with the notion of sacrifice. And if you have to sacrifice to make change, then there's no freedom in that. Wouldn't you agree? That's not free will. That's fear. Agree? So how many of you have been aching to create change, but have been too afraid to do it? Not knowing what to do, not knowing how to do it, and not being enamored with the limited option of A or B. I want something else, but I don't know what it is. Spontaneous action will open that up for you so that it becomes very, very clear. More choice, free will in its real sense. Do you understand? It's so important that you understand this concept because it's what you've been looking for. You have a question.
If you break down the walls, and the bricks and the mortar, and you become the hologram.
Let us say that it's not about breaking the walls, it's about allowing them to fit.
Allowing them to thin.
Correct.
So you become a hologram. I think I've experienced something like that. But I'm feeling like even now when I'm talking, there's a bit of fear around that, because I'm thinking, what? If I'm a hologram, and it's a hologram, the universe, what I've created is a hologram, then
What is real?
what is real?
Well, first of all, we would say unto you that it is your accumulated human experience and knowledge that becomes holographic. So you start to be able to see through it instead of referencing and bouncing off it all the time. You are pure light. So the more your accumulated human experience and memory becomes holographic, the more you become aware of your own light. The fuller you feel. The more encompassing you become. The more influential you experience yourself to be. Because remember, it's about the light being expressed outwards, which is very difficult for it to do with a wall of accumulated human experience, identity and knowledge around it. Do you understand?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Did we answer your question?
You did. I think there's another question. So, can you continue to just function within that holographic?
Of course, because then you learn how to play with it.
I think that's my next question. How
Of
do you
course.
play with it?
Then it becomes about what are we projecting where. That is where we take you back to the diagram we had here of the earth, where now there are many openings. Where do you wish to focus? Because once the wall becomes thin enough to become holographic, wherever your light is focused, it starts creating something there. And that becomes your joy. You are not referencing, and you are not being referenced. That's where your sense of place and identity goes. But you're busy creating. Do we answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Is there another question? You are all very clear. Then we are very clear. Yes? So you understand then that this year for you is an opportunity. It's an opportunity because it's not about your own encumbrances anymore. It's not about what you need to further accumulate. It's not even about what you need to deconstruct, because the deconstruction has already happened. Now it's about the transformation, the thinning of what you believe to be your reference points, the thinning of your experience and your memory and your history. How many of you in the intermission were able to interact with each other without referring to any of that? Was it a challenge for some of you? Some of you might have found that it allowed you to become more visible with each other more quickly. Agree? There was no barrier to get through. The authenticity is there. Can you see it? Because now I'm no longer interested in you because of what I think you know or what your experience is. I'm only interested in you because there's light there. What can that create? So you start seeing the potential in everyone around you. You start seeing the potential in yourself. Can you see it? If everyone around you becomes an aspect of potentialization, doesn't that make life exciting? Doesn't that mean that every single person that we choose to come to contact in, oh, there's potential for something here to happen? Yes? What happens is that you become less influenced by cataloguing. Do you remember we were speaking about the library and the referencing and the catalogue system? You all have a system of categorization and systemization when it comes to human interaction. And when it comes to choices, your mind brain will catalogue and categorize in terms of my human history, in terms of my accumulated memory and experience. Who am I going to sit next to in here? Yeah, this looks all right. Can you see it? Rather than potential, 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 potential. Can you see it? You limit yourselves and you keep doing the same things over and over and over and over again. Yes? Yes. So, we're going to play with you for a moment because we can. You're going to be spontaneous and you're going to stand up and you love it when we do this, and you're going to go and sit somewhere else. And feel into where you think the potential is for you to be sitting in the room. Go. Very well. Don't get settled. That's the old human. Yes, no sense of place. Can you see it? Now, look at the person next to you. That is potential for creation right there. No accident. No accident. Because the person and energy and consciousness, an aspect of consciousness you are experiencing right now, has created that experience for you. Now remember, it's not about necessarily what is spoken or what your opinion is, but there's something energetically happening in the reverberation of your cells and your DNA. And there is something that is being created in this moment. Can you feel it? Can you feel the potential? Can you feel that you have just shifted into a new reality? Can you now understand that the reason that you came here with us this day is so that 2018 will be a completely different year for you? And do you now understand that you just created that? Because no one knew what 2018 would be before this moment. And now it begins. Yes. You had all wondered when the year was going to begin. Peace be with you, blessed ones. I don't really feel like moving. Because the energy in the room is so spectacular. I've actually got goosebumps all over my body. So I would just like to thank all of you and acknowledge all of you for the powerful creators that you are, the powerful source energy that you are. And thank you for your willingness and ability to go out and create a new version of life. Because the spontaneous action is going to do that. So thank you all for being here. Thank you for kicking off the year for humanity. Look forward to seeing you again sometime soon. Thanks everyone. And thank you, Monica, for your beautiful music today. Monica is also a music teacher here in Perth, based down in Shoalwater, I believe.
I teach at Subiaco.
Subiaco, sorry, Subiaco does events and things as well, so thank you. Thank you, Richard, for filming today. Thanks, Glenn. Thanks, Natasha. Okay, see you soon.
Thanks, Ben.